Everyone, welcome to the P1 Classical Mechanics lecture series. This lecture is called P108.11. So in this lecture, I'm going to do one last problem to solidify the Newton laws and classical mechanics and force laws, and let's visualize some of these aspects using one last problem, right? So let's do it. So this problem is much more interesting than everything else, I guess. So in this problem, there is a person, right? There's a person just like that, okay? And this is the person, and he is standing on the top of a mountain. So this is a mountain, okay? It's a big huge mountain, and he is standing on top of that mountain, and this mountain is around at least some 8,000 meters high, right? Assume that. And there is another person, right? There's another person who is here, standing here, just like that, okay, on the ground level. Now I'm going to ask you some kind of a question, right? This is a very simple question which you must be able to answer. So there is a rain in this situation, right? So the rain is falling down from the sky, okay, just like that, okay, falling on this person, falling on this person as well, okay, standing beneath. So I'm going to ask you the question, what will be the velocity of the rain particles, right? Velocity of the rain particles. What will be the velocity for this person and this person? Well, if you have gone through, say, 105, right? 108.5, right? 108.5, you must answer that the velocity will be the same, right? Because we have discussed something about the terminal velocity, Vt, right? Which is the maximum velocity an object, a particle can achieve in a system, okay? So if you haven't gone through this 108.5, then you must pause this video and then go back and let's have a look at it before coming back into this problem, right? Because we are going to use the application of that lecture. Straightforward, right? So with that, I'm going to say that the velocity will be some terminal velocity, and this terminal velocity is because there is resistance or air drag, right? So there is air drag in the atmosphere. That's the reason why the water which is falling from the sky is actually having the same velocity even in the ground level and also in the level which is higher, right? So looking at this with a different perspective, the expected velocity would be something different, right? So if you have a drop of water falling down, the air molecules is there to push it up, right, which is called the air drag. So air drag is in the upwards direction. So if there was no air drag, then some velocity will be some u plus at, which is a standard equation. So at 10 seconds, right, so from starting from the initial velocity which is equal to 0, so velocity at some time will be at 10 seconds, it will be 8 times 10, so that will be around 100 meter per second. Similarly, if it is 20 seconds, then a Vt will be around 8 times 20, that will be some 200 meter per second, okay, just like that. Similarly, it can go for 100 seconds, it could get to 1000 meter per second, 1000 with a 0, another 0. So effectively the velocity is going to raise higher and higher and higher, just like that, right? So that is the innate effect of acceleration due to gravity. So it doesn't happen for air molecules, right? Water molecules which are falling down, water droplets falling down from the sky, doesn't go faster and faster, but it will remain the same velocity even if you are higher up in the mountain or down in the ground. The velocity will almost be the same, okay? So I hope that is clear. Now we are going to look at what happens. We are physicists, right? So our problem here is, I'm going to define the problem is to understand what the terminal velocity first of all, okay? We have already done that, okay? That is out of the question. And the second thing is to find out what the equation of velocity with time, okay? So the velocity is going to reach terminal velocity, some Vt, and before that the velocity has to change somehow, right? So this change has to be represented in terms of an equation. So what is the equation for the velocity? I need to find out that. So let's do this, okay? So first of all, recalling from 108.5, you know that F drag will be proportional to V, or F drag will be proportional to v square depending upon the velocity, right? If it is the air, in the case of air, it will be proportional to v square in most cases, because the viscosity, this is a viscous term and this is the pressure term, right? So the pressure term dominates in the case of low density liquids or fluids, low density fluids, and in the case of high density fluids like honey or or oil or something like that, it will be proportional to v. We have discussed this back in the 108 lecture, 108.5 to be exact. Now the I'm recalling it just to make sure that you remember. So ft was equal to what, some cd by 2, right? In the earlier lecture, cd by 2 a times rho v square, where a is the cross sectional area of the droplet, right? A is the cross sectional area of the droplet, and density is the density of the air molecules around it, and v is the velocity, and what else, cd is a constant for a particular shape. If it's a spherical, cd is a constant. So that's the equation right there. Now we can apply the Newton's laws. So a droplet which is falling down from the sky, right, just like that, this droplet, the force acting on it is the first one is mg, and the other force is f drag, right, on the opposite direction. So you can write down f equal to ma, and you can say f mg can be taken as positive and up can be taken as negative if you want, okay, and mg minus the f drag must be equal to some ma, okay. So now simplifying this much further, or making it much more obvious, you can substitute the value of f drag from this equation. F drag is equal to cd by 2, so it's cd by 2, right, a rho v square must be equal to some ma, right? So ma can be written as m times dv by dt, okay. You can do that. Now after reaching some velocity which is called the terminal velocity, you will see that the water droplet, after reaching vt, right, the acceleration will be 0. So a will be 0 after reaching vt, because it is going to that's the technical definition of terminal velocity. Terminal velocity means the maximum velocity it can have. So the maximum velocity, when it is reached, then the acceleration is going to be 0. So you can just say that mg minus cd, okay, I'm going to call this, I don't want to write this all the way across, so I'm going to call cd, okay, cd by 2 a rho as some constant c, right? So I'm going to call this just that, so that it is much more easier. Our life will be much more easier with that, okay. So I can just write down it will be c times v square, easier now, times it must be equal to m times dv by dt, right? So this is equal to 0 because dv by dt will be equal to 0 after reaching terminal velocity. So now you can write down that mg must be equal to some cv square, right? So v must be equal to mg by c, square root of that. So this is called the terminal velocity, right? The maximum velocity it can have, okay. Recollecting that. So the first part of the question complete. So that is mg by c, okay, no doubt about that. If you want, you can substitute the value of c. C was just mg by c was what? C was cd by 2, right? So it's 2 by cd a times rho, okay. So substituting that values, if you want, you can do that. So this is also the term. So let's call this equation equation 1 or something like that. Equation, okay, let's call this one equation 1. That's much more simpler, right? This is equation 1 and this is equation 2, okay. Keeping track of these equations, that's very important. Now we found that. Now what we can do is that in the air, the water molecules, some mass of the water being some 4 times 10 to the power 6 kilograms, right? So it's micrograms. So in those value, a droplet of this mass and the cross sectional area of some 3 times or something like times 10 to the power minus 6 meters square, like small area. If you substitute those values here, so you can find out Vt must be equal to 6.5 meter per second. So that's the maximum velocity and a water droplet can achieve, right? So that's the water droplet maximum velocity it can go. Now getting back into the real problem, where this is the easier part. Now getting into the complicated part, where we don't know what the velocity. A droplet falling from this sky, right? A droplet falling from this sky is going to accelerate, right? Some acceleration, and then reaches terminal velocity vt. Okay, so in the middle point where the acceleration occurs and until it reaches vt, we need to find out the equation. That's the question. Okay, a drain drop, just like that. So what I can do is that I can recollect the equation 1, right? Equation 1, as you can remember, that is mg minus cv square must be equal to m times dv by dt, right? So there is an acceleration part just there, so you can write down mg minus cv square, right, must be equal to m times dv by dt. Here we have acceleration in the initial part, so let's find out the equation for it. Okay, now this is mathematically it's a bit complicated, this problem, but theoretically it has very beautiful way of representation. Anyways, let's do it. So I'm going to do is that I'm going to separate those variables. That's the first thing I can do. Then I can integrate, right? Integrate from 0 to t and integrate from 0 to v. If I do that, I can find out v in terms of t. Simple as that, right? So let's do it first of all. So I'm going to separate dt. So I'm going to call dt here on this side, and mg minus cv square can be taken to the other side. So you get m by mg minus cv square, right, times dv. Okay, there is no doubt about that. I hope that's very simple. Now what I can do is that I can get that m downside, right? So downwards, if I replace that m to the reciprocal, to the denominator, then that will be much more easier. So you get 1 by, right, I divide by m both numerator and denominator, so you get g divided by m minus c by m v square times dv. Okay, very simple. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take out c by m, minus c by m outside. Okay, why did I do that? Well, you will understand it in a second. So I'm going to take out minus c by m outside, so you get 1 by minus c by m times when I take out minus c by m, you get what? G minus g m by c plus v square, right? Okay, that's what you are going to get inside, times dv. Okay, that's what you get. Now why did I take that is because of equation 2, right? Equation 2, because in equation 2 we found out that mg by c, square root of mg by c is equal to what? Vt. So that's why we have an mg by c inside, right? Just like that. That's the reason why. That's the only reason. So dt must be equal to okay, I'm going to take out the minus c by m to this side, so c by m to this side, and what remains is that you get 1 by c by m goes to the other side, and you get a v square minus vt square, right? So because gm by c is v square. Okay, so that's dv. Okay, I did that. That's very simple. So now I got something that, now what I can do is that I have to separate these variables. Now I can integrate right away, but I think it's better if you separate the v and vt part. Like, if you can do that, then that must be much more simpler, because the equation can be integrated easily. So I'm going to separate that variable. So I'm going to do something separately here. So 1 by v square minus vt square, I can separate them. Like, how can I separate them? So I'm going to call this, you can write down some a by this is v plus v square minus vt square will have a plus b times a minus b, say a square minus b square. So you can write down some v minus vt plus some b times v plus vt, right? So the denominator part is okay. So we need to find out a and b. Okay, simple. Separating the variables. So I'm not going to do exactly this, because I think I have a better idea how it's going to be. Okay, I'm going to substitute this by, I need a specific number, so that's why I'm going to say some minus a. okay, because I need a single number, so it will be much more easier this way, right? If you you can, because the idea behind why do I do this is that if I multiply, I know something will cancel out each other, right? So if it's going to be a common a, okay, you don't need b as well, right? So you don't need a one another constant, it's going to be complicated, and if you want to solve, then it's going to be lengthy. So that's why I think it's better if you do this way, right? A and minus a. First of all, when you encounter a problem, if you do this way, if you find a common factor a common constant a, then that will be much more easier to solve. You will see that in a moment. So this is my way anyways. So I'm going to multiply this both sides, so you get a, the cross multiplication is what I'm going to do, right? So you get a times v plus a times vt minus a times v plus a times vt, right? Simple. I just cross multiply, and denominator you get v square minus vt square. Okay, so this is equal to 1 minus vt square, v square minus vt square. So this must be equal to 1, right? The numerator must be equal to 1. Okay, so that's a basic thing. So I see that a v and a minus a v cancels each other. That's why I put minus a right there. Okay, just for you guys. So found out that a vt minus plus a vt, that is 2a vt. Okay, simplify that. So you get 2a vt must be equal to what? 1. So you found out a. So a is equal to 1 by 2 vt. Okay, so you found out a. Okay, very simple and very easy. So you just found out a. Now substitute that back into this equation. Substitute that back into this equation, right? I'm going to substitute that. So you get a by v minus vt plus, or something like that, a by v minus vt plus minus a by v plus vt. So a is 1 by 2 vt. So substitute that, you get what? Let's substitute that easier now. So you get something like 1 by 2 vt times v minus vt, okay, times dv minus 1 by v plus vt times 2 vt dv, right? Okay, you just separated that. So that's what you get. Now I'm going to integrate the both sides. So integrate them all. So you get from 0 to v, right? V, and the other side I'm going to integrate from 0 to t. So for whole time. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. So this component will get you what? C by mt, right? Minus c by mt. So you get minus c by mt must be equal to the integral of the other side. So this is a bit complicated, but it's manageable. So you get something like 1 by 2 vt can be taken outside, and the rest is integral of 1 by v minus vt. So 1 by v minus vt will be log v minus vt. So it's log v minus vt from 0 to v, right? Limit minus the second term 1 by 2 vt is taken outside. So you get log v plus vt, log v plus vt within the limit 0 to v as well. Okay, very simple, very elegant and very simple in brackets anyways. So now let's simplify this further, right? We have to simplify them. This is a bit lengthy, but it's very manageable. C by mt must be equal to log of 1 by 2 vt outside. Log of v minus vt will be log v minus vt. I'm substituting v here, so you get v minus vt minus log v as 0, so you get log minus vt. So right, so log, I don't need to write it anyways. Okay, it's one step manageable. So you get log v minus vt, right, substituting v, and you get log minus vt when substituting 0. So you get log something minus log vt. So it can be log a minus log b is log a by b, so you get minus vt. Okay, log v minus vt by minus vt. Okay, that's much more simpler. Minus again log the same thing, and you substitute that, so you get v plus vt by mine plus vt, right? So it's plus vt. Okay, just like that. Okay, so now life is much more easier. Now what I can do is that I can take the exponential, right? No, before that I need to simplify this. Okay, simplify this. So this is a bit complicated, even though it looks just as it looks, it's complicated. So v minus vt, you can again do log a minus log b, like both cases, right? So log a minus log a by b, so that is much more easier. So log a by b is just v minus vt by minus vt times the reciprocal of the next thing, a by b. So it's vt by v plus vt, sorry about that, vt. Okay, and this thing cancels and you get a minus sign. So I'm going to write down just that this is equal to 1 by 2 vt times log, the minus sign can be multiplied into this equation, right? Incorporated into this equation. So you get vt minus v by v vt plus v. Okay, very simple. So that's that's minus c by m times t. Okay, so that's minus c by m times t. Okay, sorry if I was not clear. So let's do that, c by m times t. So I found out that. Now I can go ahead and simplify this a bit further. Okay, I just take the exponential. So I'm going to make it clear right now. So I think this is not legible. So it's minus what, c by mt, right? Minus c by m times t. Okay, that's it. So now I'm going to do is that what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the exponential on both sides. Okay, so I'm going to take, first of all I'm going to multiply this 2 vt to this left side as well. So you get 2 vt with a minus sign, c by mt, okay, must be equal to some log vt plus minus v by vt plus v. Okay, symbol. Now I'm going to take the exponential. So you get it's exponential. I'm going to zoom in anyways. So it's e raised to minus 2 vt ct by m must be equal to the exponential on the other side. So that is vt minus v by vt plus v. So it's vt minus v by vt plus v. Vt plus v. Okay, that's the equation. Now I found out the equation of but this doesn't look much more solid. So I'm going to do some more mathematical operation and simplify this a bit more further. So you can multiply, okay, you can do is vt plus v can be multiplied on the other side. So you get e raised to minus 2 vt. Oh, I have to write this again and again. So vt c t by m multiplied onto this side is equal to minus vt minus v. Okay, so you got that. Okay, now I can separate vt components. So you multiply with vt plus vt times e raised to this plus v times e raised to minus this, and on the other side you have vt minus v. So I'm going to separate this variable and then take e raised to vt outside. So you get vt is taken outside, and I'm going to write this vt will come to the left side, and now you can say will come to the left side, and now you can say that, okay, maybe I'll do that step as well. Okay, so it's much more clearer for you guys. E raised to 2 vt ct by m plus v times e raised to minus 2 vt ct by m. It's much more easier than explaining all this. Okay, so it's vt minus v. Okay, just a second. V. Okay, v. Okay, so that's okay. Now I'm going to take the vt to the other side. So vt is gone to the other side. Let's take it to the other side and then take vt as common. So vt is taken out as common, and you get 1 1 minus, or c, okay, 1 minus I'm taking into the right side, so it e raised to minus 2vtct by m, right? Okay, that will be that must be equal to some v times again 1 plus, okay, 1 plus e raised to minus 2vtct by m. Okay, so you found that as well. Now you got two sides, so now you can write down that v is equal to, okay, some v is equal to some vt times, okay, what, 1 minus e raised to this stuff, okay, minus this stuff, I'm going to call this stuff, by 1 plus e raised to plus minus this stuff. Okay, so that will be that equation. So that will be, okay, 1 plus e raised to, there is a simple thing, 1 plus 1 minus e raised to minus x by 1 plus e raised to minus x is just hyperbolic tan, right? So it is equal to tan hyperbolic of x. So it's much more easier now. So I can just substitute that here. So it's v is equal to some vt times tan hyperbolic of the stuff. What is that stuff? It's minus 2vtct by m. So it's minus 2vtct by m. Okay, so that's the final answer I need. Okay, also, so you can find out the equation of velocity just like that. So this is the equation for velocity of a droplet which is falling down. If you have trouble computing hyperbolic functions, then use this equation, right? So use this equation, that's much more easier. Okay, very much easier. So this is the equation connecting v with the time, okay, just that. Okay, this is the v of t must be equal to some vt times tan hyperbolic of what, some stuff, 2vt, these are all constants, right? So 2 minus 2vt ct by m. So c, as you remember, c is just cd by, c is the constant was cd by 2 what, a rho. Okay, so that was the constant. So now you can substitute that back into this equation and you can find out what the velocity. So we have found out a groundbreaking theory. Okay, we have found out a groundbreaking equation of how rainwater or any component, you can change the density, the area, the material, right, shape of the material, and you can find for any component. It's not just raindrop, but for any component you have to use this. Is a very most significant equation. This equation you can solve this, or you can use this equation, just use it. Okay, this is the equation, and with that I'm going to close this lecture, and we'll see you next time, right? I hope these are all useful to you guys. I'm working hard preparing all this. Anyways, let's see you next time. Subscribe and like and share, please.